before I turned it over, I told him not to wear a suit and tie.
I don't remember that. Yeah. Let me just say, first of all, I appreciate the chance to be here. It means a lot to me. And I've had the opportunity to talk to a lot of people about politics and otherwise over the years, but nothing is quite as important, at least in my heart, is what I want to talk to you about today, because I think it goes right to the heart of everything I believe. I think it goes right to the heart of all the answers of how to save this country. And I don't think I overspeak when I say that the country's struggling just a bit. I think we all know that. So let me tell you kind of how it all started for me. My father was a college professor. And as part of being a professor, he was a state employee, obviously. And if you know state employees, they don't make a lot of money. They're paid in other ways. My mom was also a state employee. So it put us in a position where it was paycheck to paycheck every single year, every week of every year. And yet, nevertheless, my father would always find a way to save up enough money to take us to the Great Smoky Mountain National Park. If you haven't been, it's a pretty incredible place. The mountains are green and lush and tall. It's just gorgeous. And as the roads wind through the park, you can see there behind or just below these mountain streams. From the standpoint of a kid, when you're 5 and 6 and 7 years old, getting down to that stream was really, really important. Big rocks next to the stream, and I loved to hop along those rocks, not falling in, staying just above the water. But one day, wouldn't you know it, as I was hopping across the stream from one big gray rock to the other, I fell. My father rushed in, he picks me up, he gets me out of the cold water. I was scared, it was cold, I was miserable. He said, son, always look for something steady, something sure. Something steady, something sure. Those thoughts stayed with me for a long time. I turned 13 years old, I left a little church just like this. I went home one afternoon, and when I got to the house, I was convicted. Have you ever felt conviction from the Holy Spirit? It's powerful, and it's scary. You know for the first time in your life that you're a sinner. You know without a question that you're going to hell. You know you need a Savior, and you know you're in big trouble. The anxiety is overwhelming when you finally feel it. And so 13 years old, I come home from church, I run to the back of my room, I lay down in the bed, and I cover up. I was hiding. I was hiding from God. I was hiding from my dad, my mom, presumably even my sin. I stayed there for a couple of hours, and my father walked in, and he said, hey, are you okay? Yes, sir, I'm fine. He said, no, what's wrong? You're 13, you should be outside playing. I said, I just don't feel good. And he knew. You see, fathers always know, don't they? And he said, hey, let's talk. It's time for you to find something steady, something sure. Something steady, something sure. And that day, 13 years old, he led me to Christ there in my bedroom. Now, I lost him in 1999. But those lessons still stay with me today. Nothing's changed. I still believe in something steady, something sure. You say, why does that matter? It matters because our country right now is looking for something steady, something sure. Have you noticed in just a few? No. In just 2 short generations, everything's changed. Millions of people feel like strangers in this country. They don't recognize this new America. An old America is passing away. New America is rising to take its place. We recoil from that culture, don't we? If you believe otherwise, try to have a 5-year-old and a 10-year-old son and find anything on TV worth watching. Find anything on the radio worth listening to. You see, everything's changing dramatically. The books you grew up reading in the libraries, removed, replaced with authors you have nothing in common with. The music, the TV, the poetry, the art. We, as Christians, are being pushed to the sides of society. We're being marginalized. The morality, the code you grew up with is being overrun. And it's happening in just 2 short generations. Now, countries live and die by the people that reside within the country. As we are marginalized, as our code is overthrown, as those traditions are overthrown, it doesn't take place in a vacuum. It takes place and it has real societal impact. There are politicians right now that will come into this place, they will raise their hand to you, and they'll sell you the ultimate delusion of our time. And the delusion is, there's a problem, and only government can fix it. That is a symptom of a culture that's lost its God. It's a symptom of a culture that's lost its values. Because our forefathers never depended on government to fix it. They expected you to fix it. You have a responsibility to yourself, to your families, to your communities. We need no capital 1,000 miles away dictating to us how to live our lives. We need no capital 1,000 miles away taking half of our paychecks, not if the culture was as it was. See, the problem is the church has retreated from all the fights. We've retreated from society. We don't take care of the hungry. We don't take care of the sick. We don't enter the field of battle. And so the government's trying to do all things to all people. $20 trillion later, they've not made a dent. And we're still retreating. You can't survive a country that doesn't remember who it was. And today I want to remind you who you are. Now look, we have a president, or used to have a president, that traveled across the globe. And when he talked about religion, he would say, now, America is not a Christian nation. That's wrong. If not by official declaration, by custom, tradition, and population, we are and always have been a Christian nation.
That's right.
You may look at me like I'm crazy. Don't take my word for it. History speaks easily to this. John Jay, the first Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court. Do you think he knew a thing or two about the First Amendment to the Constitution? He was there when it was written. He was a part of the process. Now, the First Amendment speaks clearly as to things Congress shall not do. But it doesn't say that you can't pray in school, does it? And it doesn't say that Christians shouldn't be in politics, does it? Well, listen to what he said about this whole idea of this country being a Christian nation. He said, Providence has given to our people the choice of their rulers. It is the duty as well as the privilege and interest of a Christian nation to select Christians for their rulers. John Jay. Okay, that's just one. What about John Adams, the second president of the United States? Do you think he understood the Constitution? Trained attorney, president. He was there when it all went down. He knew what the First Amendment said and what it didn't say. Listen to what he says. He goes, our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate for the government of any other. He's on to something. He's on to something. And I can just see the host of CNBC saying, wait a second, Senator, he's talking about religion in general. He's talking about people just being nice. No, he clarified. Listen to these words. They're beautiful words by a beautiful writer. He says, the general principles on which the fathers achieved independence were the only principles in which that beautiful assembly of young gentlemen could unite. And what were they? I answer, the principles of Christianity. It's pretty clear. What about Patrick Henry? He has some really cool comments, remember? Give me liberty or give me death, right? I like that one. But there are others. Do you think he understood the Constitution? He was there when it happened. It was there when it went down. He knows what it means, right? Listen to Patrick Henry's words. The greatest pillars of all government and of social life, I mean virtue, morality, and religion. This is the armor, my friend, and this alone that renders us invincible. And to which religion do you suppose he was referring? Islam? He made it clear. It could not be emphasized too strongly or too often that this great nation was founded not by religionists, but by Christians. Not on religions, but on the gospel of Jesus Christ. It doesn't get any more clear than that. They recognized no sovereign but God. no king but Jesus. And I can go on and on and on. The point is, there's a fabric. There's a thought process here. John Quincy Adams, our 5th president, listen to what he said. Is it not that the Declaration of Independence first organized the social compact on the foundation of the Redeemer's mission upon this earth? That it laid the cornerstone of government on the precepts of Christianity. Andrew Jackson, our 7th president, pointed to the Bible. He said, that book, sir, is the rock upon which our republic rests. Amen. You see the theme? And it's like that for almost 200 years. There are some of you in here right now that were alive when Harry Truman was president. Anybody remember Harry Truman? It wasn't that long ago. Now I'm going to shock you. Historically speaking, Harry Truman was president the blink of an eye ago. Listen to these words from this president and tell me how long it's been and how far we have fallen as a country. Harry Truman, the fundamental basis of this nation's laws was given to Moses on the Mount. The fundamental basis of our Bill of Rights comes from the teachings we get from Exodus and St. Matthew and St. Paul. I don't think we emphasize that enough these days. If we don't have a proper fundamental moral background, we will finally end up with a totalitarian state that does not believe in rights for anybody except the state. Hiccup, historically speaking, he gave you all the information you needed to understand your background, your basics, your foundational principles, and he warned you about your government today. Amen. Woodrow Wilson, not exactly a conservative, was he? He was a progressive era politician. Listen to these words. A nation that does not remember what it was yesterday does not know what it is today, nor what it's trying to do. We are trying to do a futile thing if we do not know where we came from or what we have been about. Listen to these words. America was born a Christian nation, born to exemplify that devotion to the tenets of righteousness which are derived from the revelations of Holy Scripture. What's happened? Clear as a bell. Side after side, argument after argument. And now we have politicians that travel the country and say, well, we're not a Christian country, not really. Do you know the Supreme Court of the United States, the very court that says your kids can't pray in school, in 1892 examined all of our history, and guess what they found? We're a Christian country. Amen. 1952, they said it again. And in 1931. They've cited the 10 Commandments 7 times as a foundational principle for this nation's laws. And it's been referenced over 100 times in federal courts all over the country. That's who you are. That's who we've always been. That's why our motto is in God we trust. And that's why your Congress passed this resolution in 1854. Just listen to it. The great vital and conservative element in our system is the belief in our people of the pure doctrines and divine truths of the gospel of Jesus Christ. Long time ago, it seems, or just the other day, we've lost ourselves. We have. It's not even the same country. How does government survive without Christianity? How can people self-govern without those precepts, without those understandings written on their heart? And that's why it's really important that we understand this. There are 2 basic reasons. I'm going to shock you with the first one. Number 1, your rights do not come from government. Amen. Washington, D.C. does not give you your rights. Jackson, Mississippi does not give you your rights. The local sheriff does not give you your rights. Your rights are a gift from God. Even Jefferson at the time did not believe in the deity the way we did, but he would have demanded that those rights are precious and inalienable or unalienable because they are a gift from above. Now think about that for a second. If they're from God, aren't they precious? Aren't they worth defending? Aren't they worth being a warrior for? Right? And now you wonder why the secular left in this country always discounts that theory. They don't want your rights to be from God because those rights are worth defending. They want those rights to be from the state because if the state gives you those rights, the state can then take away your rights. The other important point is this. Christianity, morality, is an indispensable part of liberty. You see, there are two constitutions in play here. The first constitution is on a piece of paper in Washington, D.C. We all know what that one says. Do you know what the second constitution is? Right here, in your heart. You say, what does that mean? Well, they freed you from oppression. They gave you self-government. They gave you liberty. They expected you to do the right things. They expected good people to govern themselves accordingly. And let me tell you a little secret. People who behave accordingly don't need a government to take care of their needs. People who make the right decisions don't have to beg for the scraps from the king's table. There's a reason for that. Our Bible teaches everything to make us good citizens. Our founders knew that. They unleashed us to be free and hoped that we would temper these passions by reading that book. Justice, moderation, temperance, frugality, virtue, honesty, charity, volunteerism, the marks of great citizens, the marks of self-government, the marks of limited government, and freedom. But as we've been marginalized, as we do less, invariably the government grows to fill that void. And your liberty is lost as a result thereof. Do you really believe the government is entitled to half your paycheck? Why? It's a sign that we haven't done enough. And here's the thing, and I'm about to wrap up, but it's easy to blame others, right? We can blame the press because they are nasty. We can blame federal judges and this new philosophy by which they interpret the Constitution because they are dead wrong. We can blame Hollywood, we can blame academia, and we can even blame the public schools to a lesser extent. But ultimately, the blame is our own to bear. You cannot exercise the cultural impact that we exercised for more than 200 years and then find yourself standing in a corner silent, afraid to speak your mind. This is still your country. It's still yours. If you'll just stand and take it. No. But they shame us and they ridicule us. Instead of fighting, we cower in the corner waiting for somebody else to save us. The president can't save you. Amen. Congress can't save you. The legislature can't save you. But by George, as a self-governing, proud Mississippian, you can save yourself and your family. And in turn, you can save this republic. Amen. But you've got to be tough. That's my challenge to you today. Just a couple of questions. I believe you're going to be judged by the high court of history one day. I think we all are. I think we agree on that, right? Amen. First question naturally deals with your salvation experience, if you're saved or not. Because if you don't answer that one correctly, there's not much left to talk about. But I do believe there'll be others. We were given a gift, right? This country, this Constitution. You were born at a special time. You're unique. You're American. And you have a chance to save it. You know, only a few generations have ever had that kind of power, that kind of opportunity to actually save a republic. What happens if we fail? I think you'll be asked these questions. I think you'll say, were you men and women of courage? You see, when you stand out there and you fight for what you believe, you will be ridiculed. You will be attacked. You'll be slandered, disparaged. Jobs may be lost. Friends may be lost. But if you save and value that Bible, and if you save and value this republic, then you must proceed nevertheless. I've seen evidence of it right here in your community. I saw Senator Sojourner stand for what she believed in. And they fought her back. She stood it. Nevertheless, she fought. She paid a heavy price for that. You're going to lose some. It's going to hurt. But what's it worth?
Freedom.
Yeah, you're darn right. Freedom, liberty, self-government.
Yes.
You got to fight. You got to be courageous. Were you men and women of courage? Number two, were you men and women of judgment? I have a 5-year-old back here and a 10-year-old back here along with me. They are my heart walking around outside of my body. They have the right to inherit a country better than the one I found, and certainly better than the one we're in today.
Amen.
That means we all have an understanding today, because your decisions today, when you leave this place, will invariably impact their futures. If I seem impatient, if I seem somewhat angry, it's because I have 2 boys that I want to inherit something better than they have today.
Amen.
And I need your help to get there. Your judgment is this: what you do today will impact their lives. I need you to take action. Number 3, were you men and women of integrity? Integrity. This is the hardest one for Christians. It shouldn't be, but it is. And here's why. Like all of you, I stand here today a sinner. I want to be clear about that. Not a day goes by in my life I don't have to ask for forgiveness. Not a day goes by in my life I don't feel guilt and anxiety about something I've done. Not a day goes by that I don't recognize inherently the evil that is all around me and influences me daily. Now, what does that mean? That I'm a sinner, that I have failed in the past. Does that mean I should be silent about the future? God makes you a warrior. When you are forgiven, you are forgiven. Drop that bag of bricks and re-engage the field of battle. Don't let them silence you. Don't let them shame you. That's the biggest trick they've got. And here's how it works. Brother, you can't say that. I knew you back in high school. I saw what you did the other night at that restaurant. You can't say that. It's a lie. You know what's right. You know what justice is. You know what has to be done. Don't let them put you in a corner afraid to speak your mind. Speak your mind. That is integrity. Stand your ground. That is integrity.
Amen.
And lastly, were you men and women of dedication? Man, 1956, 57, the TV is filled with wholesomeness. Who remembers the Andy Griffith Show? I mean, what was the worst thing that could happen there? Maybe Otis on his donkey coming into town? Right, Barney Fife and his one bullet. And somehow that was always rectified, wasn't it? They found a moral solution.
Right.
Leave it to Beaver. There was a moral solution. We've gone from Leave It to Beaver to Justin Bieber, just like that. Just like that. The dedication point is this. It took them about 70 years to get us in this position. It may take us 70 years to get it back. It's hard because we're from a generation of instant gratification. Everything we do is instant, right? TV, we push a button. Food, we push a button. Banking, we push a button. And so we get impatient. We'll wake up next week and nothing will be changed and we'll say it's over. God, we've got to give it up. That's not what warriors do.
Amen.
We plan for the long fight. We recognize that 70 years is nothing in the overall scheme of things. 70 years is nothing for those boys back there. But if we don't start today, we can't turn this thing around. So dedication means immediate action when you leave here today, but then constant action, even though at times you feel like you're getting nowhere. Because you are. You are people of Christ.
Amen.
You are the salt, the light. You're the energy of this planet. What can stop you? Nothing. Not if you're willing to engage the culture. Not if you're willing to fight. Not if you're willing to make a difference for the first time in a long time. And that's what I want you to do, because I want to be real clear about something. It's not about me. It's never about politicians. It's not about being a Republican. It's not about being a Democrat. It's about being a good, solid, strong human being willing to take your principles to the streets and fight for what you believe. You do that, you'll save this country. But the answer lies right here in this room, not in the marble halls of Congress. You save your churches, you save your communities, you save your schools, you save your state, you save a republic. From the top down doesn't work. From the bottom up will be our saving grace. That's what America's built upon. So I'll leave you with this. America is the greatest country in the history of the world. Still. It's an oasis amid a desert of barbarism and cynicism. We have a responsibility to keep it that way. If we fail here, where will free people go? If we fail here, where will free people go searching for liberty? This is the last hope of mankind. And here's the good news. The people of Mississippi are sturdy, and we're strong, and we're stubborn. We still know who we are. We know right from wrong. And we have led this nation's wars for 200 years. If you're going to save this country, the revival has to start here. The fight has to start here. You're not going to lead this from California. The fight, the saving grace is not going to come from Massachusetts. It will be the Deep South again.
Amen.
It'll be the Scots and the Irish. The same ones that fought with Taylor, Jackson, and Jefferson, and Lee, and Patton. That's what it's called. It always is the South. It always will be, because we are the backbone of this country, are we not?
Amen.
So, stand up with us. Leave here today and make a difference in your community. Leave here today and make a difference at work. Make a difference on Facebook. Make a difference at the polls. Make a difference when you run for office. But do something. Make a difference. We can still save this country. And let them say of us one day, let them say of us one day that this was a generation that stood. When things looked hopeless, when things looked darkest, the people of Mississippi stood and said, we've had enough. Let them say of us that we started a revival. Let them say of us that we kept alive the original revolution. Let them say of us that when we turned it all around, it happened in little tiny churches just like this all across the South.
Amen.
The history books can read that one day. And if they do, you will have saved my sons, and I will owe you my thank you. Thank you for having me today. I appreciate it. God bless you.